Have you ever read a story that you really loved? Maybe it made you laugh. Maybe it was really exciting. So exciting that you just had to know what happens at the end. Have you ever just skipped to the end because you're dying to know what happens? If you're like me and find stories really exciting, maybe you've wondered, what happens at the end of our story? What does God have planned for eternity? And what does eternity even mean? There is a book that tells us all about the end. Well, this book is amazing. It's full of true stories about how God created the whole world, even us, and loved us more than anything else He created. And then we sinned, and the world became a broken place, and nothing like God intended it to be. But God did something amazing. He made a plan that would make a way for us to be with Him forever. He gave us His Son, Jesus. Jesus came to make this story better. He performed miracles that would show us how amazing God is, and then ultimately, He sacrificed Himself for us. He died on the cross and endured so much pain so that we wouldn't have to. He saved us from all of our sins. But again, the story doesn't end there. Jesus rose from the dead and showed us that God has power over death. When He rose from the dead, He made a way for us to be with Him forever when we believe and put our trust in Jesus. But still, does it make you wonder, what does it mean that we can be with Jesus forever, for eternity? Well, for the answer to that, we need to skip to the very end of the story. In the book of Revelation, the very last book of the Bible, at the very end, we learn that God's plan for eternity, at the place where things end and then go on forever, is good.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. You ready? Let's go! Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, Acts, Romans, 1 Corinthians, 2 Corinthians, Galatians, Ephesians, Philippians, Colossians. Let's go! 1 and 2 Thessalonians, 1 Timothy, 2 Timothy, Titus, Philemon, Hebrews, James, 1 and 2 Peter, 1 John, 2 John, and 3 John, Jude, and finally Revelation. It's all about Jesus and my salvation. Today we are in. Are you ready? Let's go!
John's vision of eternity, based on Revelation chapter 21, verses 1 through 7. John, an apostle from the early church, was being persecuted for proclaiming the good news about Jesus. As a punishment, he was sent to the deserted island of Patmos, and he wasn't allowed to leave. While he was there, an angel of God appeared to him and told him things to write and showed him many visions to warn and encourage the churches of new Christians that were growing in many places. One of the visions given to him was this: "Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth had passed away, and there was no more sea. I saw the holy city, the new Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, prepared as a bride beautifully dressed for her husband. And I heard a loud voice from the throne saying, 'Look, the tabernacle, the dwelling place of God is with men, and He will dwell with them, and they will be His people. God Himself will be with them and be their God. He will wipe every tear from their eyes, and there will be no more death or mourning or crying or pain, for the old things have gone away.' And He who was seated on the throne said, 'I am making everything new. Write these things down, for the words are trustworthy and true.' Then He said to me, 'It is done. I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. To him who is thirsty, I will give freely from the spring of the water of life. He who overcomes will inherit all of this, and I will be his God, and he will be my son.'" The Apostle John heard and saw many things in the visions that God gave to him. Sometimes God told him what something meant, and sometimes He didn't. He knew, though, that God wanted him to know that at the end of everything, there will be an eternity that is good and focused on Jesus. John wrote them down and sent them in a letter to the early Christians to share with each other. Think of a time when you were so happy that there was no way you could have been sad or cried in that moment. You were so happy with the people you were with that there was no way you could have wanted anything else. Was it your birthday or Christmas? Or maybe just a day when you were so happy and felt grateful. The final book of the Bible tells us that at the end, God will make his home with his people and he will live with us. His presence will be with us forever and ever. We will be so happy to be with God that we won't need anything else. Just like your favorite memory when you couldn't imagine being sad, being with Jesus will be like that. We will be so happy to be with him that there will be no more pain or sadness, or tears, or death. He will take all of that away. Sometimes we really want to get to the end of a book because it's so exciting. Other times, endings can feel scary, and we don't want to know what will happen. But with God, we don't have to be afraid, because when we have the right relationship with God, we get to spend forever with Jesus, who is our King. We get to be with him forever after we die. When we trust in God's forgiveness through Jesus, his promise to us is that we will spend forever in him. This is good news. We get to be with Jesus forever, and we can invite others to do the same. We can share this message with them that when they have a relationship with Jesus, we can be with him for eternity. They can have a future with Jesus too. What an amazing story. When we skip to the very end, we see that God's plan for us in eternity with him is good.